Hey there, Rocky. It's Game Changer. Just doing your second part review. First thing first, spawn zones are looking okay. I mean, you can maybe. I don't know if you're aware. It's 2.5 squares between a building before you get a little slither like that, which is obviously a spawn zone. I mean, you need to be quite mindful. It's not impossible, by the way, with that little sliver there that I could spawn straight inside your base, and I'd be then pretty much underneath your howitzer. I don't think I'd fancy it with a big gun. Yeah, I could probably get away with it. So yeah, just maybe just watch out for the little things like that. Because yeah, technically you could teleport straight into the base there, and you're in. So what I'm noticing is 2.5 squares. Now you've got obviously quite a bit of buildings here, so you could probably lose that middle of those two and still keep the spawn zone, and same around here, because if you look on this side, yes, you've got a mine there, but your spawn zone here is quite close to your base. Now you've got M270s as well as I do, so I'm not quite sure why you're not thinking of this. But what you're going to do with your M270 is you're just going to park both of them there and fire straight over the top and take out the heavy cannon. You're not even getting picked up by the salvo. I mean, but even if you were, I'd still drop my tank any day of the week in range of your salvo, to get that to distract and then take out the big gun, because once your big gun's gone, then obviously that's quite straightforward. But you can't do both things at the same time. So actually what I would do is that the first move I would have on your base would be to take out the war factory, because it's always your first move. Certainly, in my opinion, there's things coming out of war factories that cause me more problems than most things that come out of any of the buildings. The fact that the heavy cannon is stationary means I can take that at my leisure. So my first move would always be the war factory. Now, when you look at your war factory, then you've got to ask yourself, how well is it defended? So you've got here a howitzer, and you've got a machine gun. Machine gun don't really cause any problems for a tank, so I would drop my tank in range of your machine gun. Or can I just completely and utterly outrange your machine gun and come from slightly further angle here and over the top and hit the war factory? I suspect I'm going to get hit by the machine gun anyway. So what I would do personally, I'd drop a tank, take the machine gun fire, and then I'd hit your war factory, because your war factory is only kind of covered by a couple of turrets here. And the rest is a flak, isn't it? So not really going to do me a great deal of problem to take that out, and then I'd come round and take out your heavy cannon. So the problem I think your base has is it's large. Now, what I mean by a large base, supposing I take out these turrets in the war factory here, you've got turrets over here. I haven't even got a clue I've done it. They're not going to get picked up. I can then come round and take the heavy cannon, and again not have any sort of major problems from anything else really. So what I would personally suggest that you do, I would reduce the overall size of your base. Have a think about what you need inside the base for a start. Do you need, for example, a CC in your base? Probably not. So the command center can certainly come outside the walls. Do you need your barracks inside and your war factory? I would say definitely. Helicopters fly over the top of walls, so they can be outside the walls. And the airport, again, if you can get out that outside the wall, because most of your birds are going to be up. Even if I spawn straight on it, they're going to be up and out before I can take it out anyway. So that can be outside the base, no problem. So what I would look to do is reduce the overall size of your walls. I would put things outside the walls that don't need to be in them, such as the power plant, such as the airport, such as the helicopter, such as the CC, and go for a much smaller base. Now, the important thing of a smaller base is everything then gets picked up by everything, and I'll show you what I mean by that in 1 second. Okay, so this is an example of a small base format. So a small base format is protecting everything that you find completely, worth saving. So it's got your war factory and your barracks protected. Now, notice the walls touch, so if anything spawns inside my war factory, it doesn't escape, and it's the same with the troops. So whereas me and you've got quite a few mortarmen in defence, my mortarmen stay inside these walls, so when you get close enough to the base, they all hit you at once. Your mortarmen will wander over to wherever the attacker is, and they'll get picked up one by one. So that's the difference, really. Same with the factory here. I had somebody the other night skirting all the way around my base, taking away the buildings, but as soon as he tried to take the core, he took the wall and everything spilled out and hit him all at once, and he lost his shit. It was just too much for him all at one go. So that's kind of, rather than getting your defence picked off one by one, then obviously it tries to attack you altogether. My mine placements, my heavy gun is outside the base. It's got quite a nice range on it, and all heavy cannons are vulnerable to M270s. So I'm kind of having to think, well, okay, how does my turrets cover you? So I've got the new Peacemakers. If you haven't got them yet, and you can get them, get a couple of them in, at least one in, because I mean, look at the range of that, and they are quite devastating. You'll know that playing the events. Yes, there's ways around them, but if you've got other things to contend with at the same time, then it does make things difficult. But yeah, I'm certainly trying to get my base small. The heavy gun for me is on the outside, and then I'm obviously an M270 player like yourself, so I'm thinking to myself, where would I want to take the heavy cannon from? And that's where I've put the mine. That's kind of what I'm always thinking, So these two here, it's always going to be that they're going to try, and I think coming from this side here, so I'm putting mines there. So it just, everything's there to cause them issues. But the smaller base format, the true benefit of the smaller base format is if you come and take on that turret, then you're probably going to still get picked up by said machine gun. If you're going to take on any of these turrets, you're going to get picked up by said machine gun. The two Peacemakers are giving overall coverage, as well as obviously the large gun. So it's very difficult for you to take the large gun on without coming in contact with other things, as well as notice for me the helicopters can sit outside the base. Purely and simply, most things can take helicopters quite easily, but why make the walls really big when I can make them small, because they're flyable walls anyway, and that's kind of my principle. But on this smaller base format, it just means that everything is covering everything. There's no sort of areas where you can sneak up on, so behind this back is obviously usually a vulnerable spot, but obviously they're going to get picked up by both that and by the Peacemaker. So I've got overlap there. I've even got a little sneaky flat behind the wall here, just for that I've got the other day. Obviously I've got more turrets than you will have. But yeah, just anything that causes bother, but also having to think about what's in your barracks, what's in your defence, what causes you bother when you attack, and then obviously trying to get the same things in your attack, because just as if it causes you bother, it probably causes other people bother as well. So, back to yours then. So if I were to attack your war factory, I'm probably going to get caught out by maybe 1 to 2 turrets, but ultimately certainly 1, I would say so. But if I'm going to come at your war factory, I'd be having mines somewhere in this sort of area to cause obviously them bother. Now you've got a mine here, certainly, so that does cause me a little bit of an issue. I kind of want to come in from this side, so that's good. But you probably want some buildings in this sort of area here and here, because you've got way too many on this side. Remember, 2.5 squares per building, and get rid of obviously this spawn zone around this side here. Now you and I know that because we're M270 users that we're going to try and take that heavy gun out. Well, have a think. How would you take a heavy gun out? You must know that the M270s outrange it, so you're going to either be about here, or here, or here, and then you're going to fire over the top and take the M270s. So be expecting that, and maybe have mines or the you know, some sort of like a cover howitzer salvo. I'm saying that salvo, you know, you can get to the heavy cannon without it. But again, have more than one, because, you know, you're really trying to protect everything that you want to protect. Remember, that's the key rule. So you've got a salvo here trying to cover all that sort of side. But not picking up anything here. You've got one salvo picking up that side. It's almost like you're trying to cover everything, but you're spreading yourself out too thin. Sod your little buildings, you know, let the guys take care of the little buildings, that's near bother, but spread your little buildings out as much as possible, because remember, on world map, they only win if they get 100%. If you've got one little shitty building left in the corner over here somewhere, and they've started all over here, and they've had to take everything out in the meantime, then that's just going to cause them time. If you group everything together there, I would be using my Raptor here. I could probably take those 4 buildings out with one strike if necessary, certainly again here, so spread them out a little bit. Remember what we said, reduce the size of these walls, have a think about where mine placements need to be, but overall make this base smaller so that more things are going to hit you at once, and I think that'll be a good start. I've given you a lot more info than most, because obviously we're doing 2 videos here, so have a good go through, have a little look if you want to do any changes. Remember, it's your base, you don't have to, but have a little look at doing some changes if you wish, and give us another nod back, and then I'll have another little look around. It's likely that you'll get a couple of things not quite spot on. Again, I always reserve the right to be wrong. It's just how I think about things. But I think if you get into your mind of an attacker, because no doubt you obviously do think that way, because I've seen you attack platoons, you can see how to kind of unpick your own base and things along that sort of line. Watch out for that little sliver though. If you could do nothing, move that barracks 1 pace towards this oil pump, and that should get rid of that sliver, because I wouldn't mind betting I'd love to try it, just literally teleport inside your base, destroy this upper corner. Flak's obviously not going to hit me with anything. Take out the helicopter, and then straight over the top M270s, and I'd probably take you out from the inside out, as it were, using just that little sliver there, so watch out for that. Cheers, bro.